it's Dave, it's Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from UK prog band Haken. The band's new album, Fauna, will be released on March 3rd via InsideOut Music. So we're already doing better on this review than we were on the last one. We've got the band's name right straight away, right off
the... rhymes with bacon.
Yeah.
See, once you told me that stuck in there forever. So.
Yeah. If only we knew on the last review.
It's in there with, in fact, it may have actually knocked out I before E except after C. Because that's what happens when you reach a certain age. All new information knocks out other information.
True that. So, album number 7 from Haken, which follows up the 2020 album Virus, which we both reviewed.
Yes.
One of the first reviews we did for Metal
I think
Epidemic,
the joke was that they couldn't have picked a more ill-fitting name because they'd already started. In fact, they delayed the release because of the pandemic. So, did kind of feel like we just started something called Epidemic. They just called something Virus. Just everything was bad. So...
True. So for this new album, the songwriting actually began at the tail end of 2020, but didn't conclude until February 2022, when the band actually rented a house in rural Surrey to finalise the lyrics. They subsequently recorded in their own personal studios after their US tour with fellow prog metal icons Symphony X. The premise of the album when we started writing it was that every song would have an animal assigned to it, explained singer and co-founder Ross Jennings. They all have something related to the animal kingdom that we could write about, but they also connect to the human world. Each track has layers, and some of them are more obvious than others. Conceptually, it reminds me of The Mountain, adds guitarist and fellow founder Richard Henshaw. There we had the idea of not really a narrative-based album, but more the concept of climbing a mountain and overcoming the obstacles along the way. Then we took that and thought about how it could relate to our everyday lives. All of Fauna's animals relate to us personally. Fauna also sees the return of keyboard player Peter Jones to the band following a 14-year absence. He originally amicably left to pursue his academic studies, but is now clearly a cornerstone of Fauna. So, 9 tracks long, about 62-ish minutes in length, which is 10 minutes longer than Virus, but 2 tracks less than Virus. This is also the first time that Haken have kind of properly put an album together as a band. So they all worked solo or in little groups initially, but then met up as a band to bring in all the ideas, and they worked. They said, I think they worked like 13, 14-hour days for about a week trying to piece all this together. I think the album was produced by the band themselves. I couldn't find much information on it, but I think they did it themselves. And then it's mixed and mastered by Jens Borgen, who worked with the band on a lot of their earlier stuff. So, Duncan, Haken, Fauna, what are you thinking? What did you make of this one?
So this one was on my list of things to look forward to for this year. Mostly off the back of their debut single, Nightingale, which is track number 2. So we both reviewed favourably Virus. Now, I can't remember where the scores were, but I know they weren't bad scores.
I was a 3.5, you were a 4.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I would probably change mine down to 3.5. I didn't really revisit it much.
Right.
After listening to it. And I think that's going to come into play when we talk about this album. Like, the Virus to me kind of felt... Actually, you filled in a lot of the blanks to me. Kind of felt like tracks that didn't have a cohesive theme. And as a result of that, I'm an albums guy. I like listening to entire albums. That kind of felt like I could pick out 3 or 4 songs from it, listen to those ones on repeat. I'd be pretty happy. And there were other tracks in there that weren't necessarily filler, but the proggier elements were not things that made me rush to pick it back up again. That is not the case with Fauna. So Nightingale had dropped, and I sent you. I listened to it like on repeat on a plane flying to England weeks and weeks and weeks ago. And what I'd said to you is, Jesus Christ, Haken are channeling their inner level 42. Like, me and Dave are big level 42 fans, right? I'll just put that out there. And you know what? It's not even a guilty pleasure. They're fucking amazing, right? They're absolutely fucking amazing. But vocally, his tone reminded me specifically on Nightingale of Big Mark King. Like, it was scary how much it was. And then the bass work, it wasn't slap bass, but plenty of attitude, plenty of tone element and flurries. That I was like, this is fucking. And then the keys as well. The keys are like were a big factor here. Like really, really nice 80s sounding keys, and just had this. By the end of the track, I was fucking in. I was like, see if the rest of the album is dog shit. Like, this is fucking great. Like, absolute 100% in. And then I want to say Alphabet of Me was the second single. I might be wrong on this, right? But I definitely was a single, right? But I wanted, so that was the second thing. I don't like doing this. I don't like being the guy that starts listening to all the singles before the album comes out, because I by the time those songs come, if I listen to them 10 times, by the time the album comes in, I'll skip over them, because I'm like, I know this right now, and I don't want to be that guy. But Alphabet of Me reminded me a lot of a band that we've mentioned shitloads in the last year and a half, Car Park North, who have this, and what stresses a kind of poppier element about it. It's certainly heavier, but I had this kind of almost kind of Scandinavian pop-like feel, like they were somehow picking elements of Robin and putting it in to the prog world, and it's fucking great, and it couldn't sound any different from Nightingale if it tried. So off those two tracks alone, I was in. Right, I was like, this has potential here, that it could go fucking anywhere. Like, those two tracks sound like completely different. One is like much more organic and kind of, you know, has an earthy feel. This other one here is kind of poppy and synthy, and where are we going? Cue the album coming in and me not listening to the third single, Taurus. It's like that. By this point, you don't need to sell me on this anymore, guys. This is fucking great. Right, this is actually, we were talking about this very briefly last night without giving away notes. I've spun this like 6 times already, right? And this is like over an hour long. And that is an ask for me, because I have other things I do in my life. Album has like so much that you just want to come back and listen to. And I think they've hit what they needed to do all along in order to achieve this. And that is take a bit more time, but primarily work more as a band. These songs flow really, really, really well. The longer they go, the more interesting they get, which it shouldn't work that way. The longer they go, the more I should be like, but that's not the case here. Even on the longest song, which is the penultimate one, Elephants Never Forget, which is probably the one that has the most quirky proggy about it, is a very quirky sounding track. As almost like a kids like theme, almost Abbey Road sort of kind of piano-y sort of thing, got like Beatles-esque piano-y thing going on. Like as an intro to it, you know that that this is them showing a bit more of a kind of playful side. But even then, the track totally fucks, man. It's so good. So let's take it back, right? Taurus like basically sets the stage as one of the shorter tracks on it, not the shortest. The shortest we'll get to, and I fucking love it. But Taurus really kind of hits you with punch. It gives you energy. Vocals are on point. Keys are fucking great. Guitar hooks are amazing. Production is huge. And then you get Nightingale, and I'm like, right, this is comfortable territory. It's a breathe track. It's like here's your energy, here's your breathe. Right, and then you get the Alphabet of Me, which brings all the pop, right? So it really is a very, very catchy. I can see why it was a single. It's a very, very, very catchy track, fast-spoken, almost rap-like, sung lyrics, fucking great. Really, really, really works. Huge chorus. Every song, huge fucking chorus, right? They've nailed the chorus. Like they've got that. Like they've got hooks for days, right? Yep. And then you go into something a bit darker. Supernatural Beings is a track that like feels like it's got teeth, feels a bit edgier, it feels very different from what's come before, and it's also perfectly placed on the fucking album because everything up until that point has a bit of sheen about it, has a bit of saccharine sweetness about it, and then you get something that reminds you that Haken are a heavy band, and they can do that. And they can do that for days if they want to. It's just they're also really good at the other stuff, so why not do that?
Yeah.
So it really, really, really works in there. And then it flows right through into Beneath the White Rainbow, which is a revelation. It's fucking stunning track. Huge chorus. Lots of elements going on. The keyboard work throughout this is so fucking good. Like as a keys guy, right? The keyboard work in this is exceptional, right? So they never let this guy go away and study again, right? like a lot, chain him to his synths, right? No more fucking like degrees do not make you cool. Playing in a band does.
Synths make you cool.
One gets you pussy, the other one gets you letters after your name and a potential career when the band gives up. Actually, get the degree. So yeah, like the keys work like really, especially on Beneath the White Rainbow, where it just elevates and lifts and it's got character and it's flurries. Like at times, the keys are arguably the prominent instrument in tracks. You know, like that has so much attitude and so much flurry. Interludes on this album, you're going to get some stunning guitar work, but they will hold out and say, like, do your thing. And it's a way, and it's awesome. Island in the Clouds is kind of what you think Island in the Clouds would sound like from listening to it. It's very airy. It's it lifts things, but you're getting lifted up, and then you get all the fun. All the pop. I love Bites. It's the shortest song on here. It's the closest the band get to just an out and out like banging pop track, and it's fucking great. It's like so catchy, so memorable. And then they switch into Elephants Never Forget, which is their prog opus for this one here. Clocks in just over 11 minutes. And it's playful, it's fun, it's witty, it gets heavy when it wants to, but it's so well written. And then Eyes of Ebony is the final track, which really brings things in spectacular fashion. And then you press play on Taurus again. Like that was the thing I found. As soon as the album finished, I wanted to listen to it again. That wasn't the same with Virus. When we finished Virus, I gave it a day, and then I came back and I listened to it again. In the case of this one, I had to spin it again. This is an exceptional album. It really, really is. There's not one element here where, and it's got plenty of character. Even the stuff that's a bit risky, like even the quirk on Elephants Never Forget, might be a step too far for someone. Would generally be a step too far for me. But they had me in by that point so much so that when it arrived, I was like, oh, let's see what you do with this, guys. And then by the end, that was like, that was a good choice. Like, let me buy you a beer.
Bravo.
Production is fucking flawless, like pristine. Like for everything that's going on here, everything is handled so well. The mixing and mastering is a triumph as well. The keys are I complain about keys sometimes, and that it can be easy to make them too loud. It can also be easy to bury them. And they're perfect. They sit perfect in the mix. At times, almost utilised the same way that Rollo Tomasi used their keys. You know, in terms of, like, this is the card-carrying member of this band, so listen to him. The guitar work, exceptional. Like, they will hit in, like, genty polyrhythms if they have to, but, you know, when they want to do their kind of 80s kind of prog stuff, at times a little bit Boscaloid. It works really, 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 really well. You know, like, shades of Genesis in here, and it's really cool. The bass work is great. I love, like, bass player is so fun. He's too talented, actually. Let's get this guy somewhere else. And then lastly, vocally, this is their best album.
Yeah,
he nails it. Every melodies on the verses are just as memorable as verses on the choruses, which they shouldn't be. That's not how songwriting works. Like, you have the chorus is the thing everyone sings. I'm singing through all the verses here as much as I was singing the choruses. He has nailed it. They have nailed it. I will be very surprised at the end of this year when we are talking about, like, the prog world. Yeah. If Haken aren't in the top 3, if not the top spot. I think I am excited about this the same way I was And you remember when we reviewed the last album, Caligula's Horse had released an album, and it was fucking great. It's better. It was a better album. Sorry, guys. it was a better album. And I would say that the reason I thought it was a better album was that it just had a lot more going for it. And they really put the time in to crafting hooky songs. With when they went off and did these flurries, they were amazing. But they never forgot they never forgot the listener.
Yeah.
And they always brought it back. I think Virus at times forgets the listener for maybe trying to do the heaviest riff they can write, or trying to do something that kind of pushes boundaries. They had to get that out of their system to end up here.
Yeah.
And I think it's been for the best. Fauna is an exceptional album. I genuinely have not one criticism about it, except I want to listen to it while we're talking right now. I would much rather be listening to it than reviewing it. It's that good. I never thought in a million years I would be saying that about a prog metal album, which is not my wheelhouse. But about Haken, a band who I thought were okay. I thought they were good for what they did, and I understood that they had a loyal fan base, but I would not have counted myself a card-carrying member of that. Fuck everyone else, I'm in now. I mean, I'm 100% there. This is fucking great. It's absolutely fucking great.
Nice.
And if you disagree with me, Dave, this is the end of our friendship. I'm handing in my notice, and it will just be Dave on the next recording, pointing to an empty square.
Oh,
so there you go.
It's good to get interesting, Duncan. It's good to get interesting.
Not a bad word about this.
I had some issues with Virus. I enjoyed the first 2/3 of that album, and then the last part of the album I just completely struggled with. That was the 5-part, was it the Messiah Complex or something? I think it was called.
Yeah, like it's just release an EP.
Yeah,
see if you're gonna do that, just release an EP.
Yeah, it lost me. It was very like experimental and not quite as hook laden as the first part of the album. Different structurally as well, and I just couldn't get into it. Now I don't know if it's because we've been like listening to more prog over the last wee while.
You have famously already in the bunch of recordings we did here, and actually I'm now seeing there is a definite through line. It's like, is the 3rd of March International Prog Day or something?
It could be.
So it's like the third review where we're talking a lot about prog, which is once again not a genre that either me and you are incredibly well versed in. We have our favourites that exist in them. I would argue that our favourite prog bands are not even in the same genres.
Probably
like a prog, they're probably quite far apart.
Yeah.
So
and the albums that we've reviewed tonight are all within prog, but completely different. I'm enjoying all these different variations of prog, and the way it can be delivered. However, this album by Haken, although we've heard lots of, prog in this first quarter of 2023, this album, it hits differently. It hits very differently. This is like breath of fresh air. Differently. This to me sounds like a band at the top of their game. I mean, I hadn't listened to all the singles. I think I'd listened to 2 of them, and I thought I enjoyed them as their own individual thing. And then when I heard them in the context of the album, they almost were elevated another level. When I heard them in there, I was like, it just felt like a complete kind of tour de force, this whole album. I think what I enjoy, one of the things I really enjoy about the album is the way they've balanced this album. Like there's this authentic, almost like classic prog feel to some of the tracks, where if it wasn't for the kind of production of the album, that kind of punch, the production, you would think a lot of this stuff could have been written in the 80s. You know what I mean? There's a lot
100%,
a lot of characteristics from that era, but it is like melded with something more modern, something more fresh.
Kind of at times has, I don't want to steal your notes here,
Sorry?
At times it reminded me a little bit of a more proggier, the band's names escape me, the Cold of the Night of the Alligator, Cold Nights for Alligators, Alligator Nights, which is not right, but would be a great sitcom. It reminded me like that has at times a very kind of the 80s feel to it.
Yeah, I'd agree,
But there's a sheen over it, which is, this is modern, vibrant, but it sounds like, if you told me these tracks have been remastered, I would totally believe that.
Yeah. this album kind of feels like kind of all the best parts of Haken blended into one, like almost like a showcase of the band at their peak. Like you've got elements of their more melodic and experimental early work. You've got that sprinkle of 80s that they had prominent on Affinity, and then you've got the more metallic, groovier side they pulled in on Vector and Virus, which were kind of like was two parts. And the blend they've got on this is just perfect. Like this album has there's so much going on. Like it almost feels like nothing is off the table for this album. Like whatever the idea was, no matter how daring it was going to be, they were willing to give it a try and make it work without feeling out of place. A lot of it feels quite heavily polyrhythmic and kind of off kilter, which is like right up my wheelhouse, right up my street. And you know that might sound a little bit off-putting to some people, but I found that really kept me engaged in it. And when they switched to something more 4/4, you know, on a chorus or a bridge, for example, it kind of just comes alive. And it just pulls you right in. And plus that in conjunction with like all the sides of the band they've added, it kind of makes this Haken's most extensive album to date. It's wildly twisted at times, but also feels like the most cohesive Haken they've ever sounded as well at the same time. It's dynamic, it's got plenty of light and shade, it's dense and it's thunderous at times as well, but also has these moments of light that allow you to kind of breathe and not feel completely overwhelmed by it. And I think that's where kind of Virus kind of fell down for me. It did become too much in that last part of the album. And an album as adventurous as this, it could have gone the same way. It could have been overkill, but they've clearly, as you said, they've taken a huge amount of time to make sure this is pieced together perfectly so that each twist and turn feels necessary and it improves the album in the right way. Like, for example, the way they come out of Nightingale, which is bending and layered with lead work and kind of stabbing offbeats, and then allow you to completely reset with the opening melodies and keys of The Alphabet of Me. And it just feels like the perfect transition into that track.
It's pure, unabashed pop coming off big old swinging dick bendy metal.
For sure.
And like you don't, and the thing is, you just slide right into it. It doesn't. You're not sitting there going, "What the fuck?" Like, it's so well done.
Feels natural, and then like The Alphabet of Me then delivers this one of the best choruses on the album.
Huge.
So you're getting like the technical side, but you're also getting something catchy and memorable, and that's something this album has in spades. Like memorable moments. No matter how long or winding each track may be, they make sure that you're left with a hook or a melody in your head, guaranteed. I think the songwriting here is just phenomenal. I think both musically and vocally, they've crafted an album that really is really interesting to listen to musically, but each track sounds individual, but the theme and the tone of the album kind of glues it all together. It makes it a seriously strong album from start to finish. My only concern was track 8, obviously. Elephants Never Forget.
It does start. It's the one that starts off with the bit, especially when you listen to it the first time when it starts off and you're like, right.
Yeah, I saw the runtime and I was like, all right, here we go. There's going to be something mental on this, and it's the one track where they do let loose and they become a bit more kind of off the wall. My first when it first kicked in, I was like, oh no, they're going to ruin this album for me. This track's just going to ruin everything. And as you say, it's the longest track. It's over 11 minutes, and it's got that Between the Buried Me kind of quirkiness about it, with the odd riffs and almost kind of theatrical vocals. And it's got a bit of a like you've taken LSD at a carnival or something like that. It's like it's very weird, or so I imagine that's what it's like. But even amongst the weirdness of that track, there's moments where they completely recenter and they give you something straight up, like a groove or a really memorable vocal hook. So although I was a little bit skeptical at first, the track absolutely grew on me. As it went on, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I really like what they've done with the kind of two sides of this track. I think every member of this band has brought their A game on this album. Each member just delivers massively. I think vocally, Ross, I don't think he sounded better ever. I think this is
absolutely impeccable.
His
like
strongest performance, for
absolutely
sure.
impeccable.
Yeah.
And we said it's not just that he can sing it.
Yeah.
But his melodies, his choice of melody is just sublime.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I totally agree with you. I could hear the Mark King thing as well going on. I was just like,
Nightingale was the track.
I'd never noticed that before either. I was like, this is.
He has a quality. He's got a higher register. Mark King cannot sing as high as our boy here, but on certain registers, I was just like, holy fuck.
Yeah. I think bringing back Peter Jones has also had a huge impact on this album, because the keys are definitely more a focal point on this album, and it feels like a lot of the tracks work so well because the keys are almost holding it together. Adding atmosphere, a bit of tone, there's layers of depth there, and a bit of kind of darkness as well when it needs it. I love how retro they sound on tracks like Nightingale, but also how they go almost kind of sci-fi electronic on like Islands in the Clouds. The keys add a lot of personality to this album, which is not something that often happens. They're obviously usually buried in the mix somewhere, you don't really notice. My personal highlight is Love Bite.
It is so
think
good.
That track is.
How about that? How about me and you syncing up? On the same, like, honestly, you don't we sync up on a lot of things, but this is not a genre that we ever sync up on.
No,
like you love Between the Buried and Me. I think they're okay, right? So that, like, there we go. That's a good example. It's so fucking good. See, if they just wanted to write an album with that, it'd be the best fucking thing ever.
Yeah, that was the. I got a goosebumps moment on that track. I was like, oh man, this is so fucking good. The vocal harmonies are insane, man. Just. They have the 80s ripping out of them, but I'm all good with that. I love that. Very very uplifting. Even the riffs and the solo, just perfect single length as well. Just fantastic.
Why they've not led with? I could see actually why you don't lead with this as a single. You want to give the people that are fans a little kind of it's all right. When we sit at the table, you're all right, son. You're all right. And then you hit them with Love Bite.
I could go on and on about this album, to be honest. There's so much you could dig into here, but I'm going to stop myself, otherwise this review will be longer than the album. So all I'm going to say is listen to Fauna. It's fucking fantastic. And every time I hear it, I love it a little bit more. And when these guys, they're playing in Glasgow next month, I think.
I think they are,
with Between the Buried and Me, isn't it?
Between the Buried and Me, yeah.
And Cryptodira as well, which I really like. So I'll be there, 100%. Yes. I will be there. So scores, what we're giving Fauna by Haken. What you thinking?
As it stands right now, this is my favourite album of the year, so it's a 5. This is the best thing I've heard this year so far. And I'm gonna even go one step further and say this is like a head and shoulders better than anything else I've heard this year. This is very, very exciting. I get very excited listening to this. Like genuinely, I'm excited about music when I listen to this. We'll see where it places at the end of the year. It's February. It'll be March when it comes out, but it's February when we're recording it. So still got a lot of road to toe. But it's I mean, and not that they're looking for anything from us, but honestly, they should be so proud of what they've achieved here. This album is absolutely excellent. It's fucking incredible. 5. If I could give it more, I would, but it only goes high as 5, so 5.
5. Easiest 5 I've given this year so far. Like, this album didn't have to grow on me at all. I didn't have to debate the rating at all. Oh, was this a 4 point? Nope, not at all. This grabbed me from the get-go. Even at an hour long, I will listen to this all day.
Oh this is going to be rinsed to death by the end of the year. Like we're going to be in a position where we're like that. Our Spotify top listens has come up, and it turns out that I only really listen to British prog.
Absolutely. 5 from me. Absolutely check out this album. Like, when this comes out, listen to it, and then listen to it again and listen to it again. It just gets better and better every time you hear it. I will drop links below to the band, the pre-order, all that stuff. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Stick some comments in. That is the review. We'll see Haken in March in Glasgow. And we'll be back for another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.